Body to this demonstration. Shocking news. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Oh yeah. Y'all know how it goes down over here. I go and get the information that has already been out there, and I bring to you all the shocking part of the information that's already out there. That's why it's called shocking news. None of this is new. It's not new. This information has been out there. I just bring to you all the shocking part about it. But before we get started with this demonstration, let me read my copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. What that means is that everything that you hear in this demonstration is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Everything that you hear in this demonstration is allegedly only. Salute to all my moderators. Salute to my replay gang. Salute to all my new subscribers. Salute to you, him, and her. Salute to the whole Rock Squad. Salute Marie. Salute Marie. I see you, Abdul. I see you, Abdul. Salute, salute. Oh God, Shank Bartley self about to go off. Salute, Karen. Appreciate you for pulling up, Karen. Not right now. I will be, for everybody that's following the Shanquella Robinson case, I will be going live this Saturday on what's going on with the Shanquella Robinson case. So just tune back in on Saturday, and I'll give y'all some updates on the Shanquella Robinson case. Salute 80s, baby. Salute. Salute OG Patrice. So, as I stated, what we're going to discuss in this demonstration, we're going to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Now, first, what I want to do is, to bring everybody up to date. A lot of people aren't aware of a lot of things that took place in history. So that's what I'm going to be covering in this demonstration. We're going to backtrack. My last demonstration was a great and a wonderful demonstration. It was History Class 101. So this is going to be part two. The beginning of this demonstration is going to be part two of our history lesson, because a lot of people don't know and never knew the contributions that Black people, that African people had when it came to building the United States of America. A lot of people just wasn't taught that in history class. I wasn't taught that in history class. I was taught, like most of us, we was taught that everything started with Christopher Columbus. We were taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America. But then later on, when we done our own homework and we done our own research, we found out a lot of interesting things. Drop a one if that's what you was taught, that Christopher Columbus is the one that discovered America. All right, let's get into History Class 101. And I'll tell y'all, Christopher Columbus couldn't have discovered something that was already here. Yes, and I'm going to be playing this, and y'all will see how Black people, the Africans, we were here long. Oh yeah, we were here long before Christopher Columbus so-called discovered it. I know, but Shank, I thought the Indians were here in America. The natives were here in America, and those natives was none other than melanated people. The original natives, the ones that they call the Indians, they were our complexion. But let's go to scholars. Now, these are scholars that is breaking this down. Pay attention, y'all.
Temples, pyramids, tombs are going to be found.
The Bonampak tribe, that was a group of Aboriginal people living in the Mexico area. If you go down to Mexico and you look at these murals, you can see the Bonampak tribe, and they clearly have distinctive African features, African nose, lips, hair.
We know that there are pyramids and heads in Guatemala, Nicaragua. You can go throughout Central America. You can go through Mesoamerica. You can go to South America, as far as Peru. And you can find the presence of African peoples in this area. In the ancient world, not just during the movement of Africans during the enslavement process, but these are individuals that are going to be here and establish culture in this part of the world. Evidence of Africans in America. He wrote a book, Frank Joseph. Now, this is a man who did not set out to write a book on African presence in America. He just was honest enough to record what he found. He finds coins with African heads on them. He finds vessels that people drank from with African heads. You have a gentleman by the name who was transcended. His name was Alexander von Mutno. When we went to Mexico to study with Dr. Van Sertima in 1984, we went to his museum, his studio. He showed us over 60,000 artifacts that were African in nature, not just brought from Africa, but built in America, revering Africa.
These artifacts wasn't brought from Africa. As the brother said, these artifacts were made here in America.
Mansa Musa, who became, what's his name, Montezuma. So Mansa Musa was actually Montezuma, and he was a Mali king who came over here with the flotilla of 200 ships, Abu Bakr II. He sent a flotilla of ships, 200 of them, in 1306, and then again in 1311. And together, that constituted 500 ships that sailed here from the west coast of Africa.
There was also a map called the Walser-Muller map, and this map was considered the first map to have the name America in it. This map was sold to the Library of Congress for like $10 million. When they found the Walser-Muller map, Walser-Muller said that they basically made the map out of things that were comprised, or maps that were comprised and left over by the Egyptians. A lot of people don't know that the state of California was named after a mythological black queen called Queen Khalifa. Now,
How many of y'all knew that the state of California was named after this mythological queen called Khalifa? How many of y'all know that?
A lot of people don't know that the state of California was named after a mythological black queen called Queen Khalifa. Now, the original California Indians, if you see them, the California Indians, they look black. The Ohlone Indians, if you see paintings of the Ohlone Indians out of California, you couldn't tell them from an African tribe. If you look,
and I'll say it again, this is why back in the days, we as black people were famous for saying, I got Indian in my family. My grandmother was half Indian. My grandfather was half Indian. This is where all of this came from. It wasn't that your grandfather or our grandmothers were half Indians. It was that our grandparents were the original Indians, the original natives.
Get the original paintings of the Mojave Indians. You couldn't tell them from an African tribe. These were clearly dark-looking people who had some type of African bloodline.
Just bear with me. Now, we need to definitely pay close attention to this because this is the early history of the United States. I'm only going to let a few minutes of it play, and then we're going to get into Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But but I need for you all to see this. So hopefully it'll help make us all understand the United States of America presidency. All right?
A lot of the founding of America was based on Moorish science. If you see paintings of the inauguration of George Washington, it looked like a Masonic ritual. So again, Masonry is based on Moorish science. So they would have these Moorish advisors around them. If you look at old paintings of George Washington, you will see George Washington standing next to a black man with a turban.
And that man, that's George Washington. And that man with the turban is a melanated man, a black man, and he's free, but he's a Moorish American.
Remember, when you see the black man with the turban, that's a Moor. That's not a slave. See, people automatically assume that black is slave, but slaves didn't wear no turbans. Because remember, slaves weren't allowed to practice no Islam or any other kind of religion except Christianity. So when you see that turban, that's a black man. And there's a few pictures of George Washington and other people with Moors or black men with turbans standing next to him. When you see that, just know that those are Moors. The Lumbee and the Melungeon people, these were an aboriginal tribe of people who were living in the Americas, and they came over, and a lot of people act like they don't know where they came from because they were classified as free people of color. And there were other groups called red bones. This is where we get calling a light-skinned person a red bone. These are old terms, and these people had come over before Columbus. They've been over for a long time. And again, the Melungeons were almost classified as black or Negro, but they called them free people of color. And in some circles, they did classify the Melungeons and the Lumbees as Negro. Abraham Lincoln's mother came from a Melungeon background.
And this is why it was always said that Abraham Lincoln was, if not our first black president, but this is why it was said that Abraham Lincoln was actually a black man, because he had black in his blood.
In some circles, they did classify the Melungeons and the Lumbees as Negro. Abraham Lincoln's mother came from a Melungeon background. And people were very aware of this back then. When they were running against Abraham Lincoln in the campaign, his opponents would use that information and try to use it against him. Because remember, back in those days, in order to insult somebody or in order to stain somebody's image, you just had to say they were Negro, or they were mixed with a Negro, or they had a Negro background. And they would do that with Abraham Lincoln. There's old pictures in newspapers of Abraham Lincoln dressed up like a Moor. They would call him Abraham Africanus. Benjamin Banneker, he was a black man who created the first known almanac. He helped design the city of Washington, D.C. He was a descendant of the Dogon tribe of West Africa, very well versed in astrology.
Well, his name itself, he was a Moor also. He was the first one that started the almanac. He was a Moor.
In fact, there's a book by Charles Cerami on Benjamin Banneker. In fact, what's interesting about Benjamin Banneker is that they trace his ancestry back to the Dogon people of Mali. That what Benjamin Banneker is best known for is his knowledge of agriculture and astronomy. In fact, he was the one that wrote the first Farmer's Almanac. Basically, when you're watching your weather report on the news today and they tell you what the temperature was in 1920, that's the Farmer's Almanac. And he was the one that was able to codify, write down how to deal with the earth according to the seasons. Benjamin Banneker and L'Enfant were building Washington, D.C. And what society attempts to tell you is that that Benjamin Banneker had a photographic memory, and he did. Not to take that from him, but L'Enfant did not build Washington, D.C. Because whoever built Washington, D.C. had to have been a master of astronomy. Because Washington, D.C., as our brother Tony Browder has shown us, is laid out according to the heavens.
But not only did he know astrology, but he had a photographic memory. And he studied the plans of the previous architect and knew where everything was in his head, and finished Washington, D.C. from his head.
Benjamin Banneker also was the first one to really bring the clock, as we know it today, to its highest form. The clock that we use is a watch, okay? Now, a lot of folk not going to admit this, But what is that big clock called in London? It's called Big Ben. It's named after Benjamin Banneker.
How many of y'all knew that? How many of y'all knew that? That big clock is actually named after Benjamin Banner. All right. Salute, Chen. I see everybody down there. Salute, Tammy. Salute, Positive. I see you all down there. I just wanted to give some brief history lessons on the United States of America. And it's so much. Don't get it twisted. Salute, Yvette. I see you. It's so much. And hopefully I can be able to go back to Hidden Colors. But the reason why, because I want us to focus on America's true identity. Correct, Sabrina. Salute, Sabrina. Wow. I want us to focus on America's true identity. See, we were taught that it all began with Christopher Columbus. We were taught that the natives that was here, we was taught that they were uncivilized. We were taught that they were savages. The same thing that we was taught about the slaves. We were taught that the slaves were in Africa. The slaves didn't have no language. The slaves hunted animals. The slaves was porch monkeys. The slaves lived in the jungles. Salute Kotan, salute Kotan. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to take us to Kamala. We're going to go to Kamala. We're going to come back to Hidden Colors. Salute, Lady V. Appreciate you for pulling up, Lady V. We're definitely going to come back to Hidden Colors. But I'm going to take us to Kamala. Then we're going to go to Trump. And we're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, and then I'm going to point out some shocking news about both of them. Now, let's start with Kamala. Now, Kamala is what we know to be a mixed child, a mixed lady. She's mixed. She's mixed with Jamaican blood and Indian blood. And that's a fact. Her father is from Jamaica. Her mother is from India. So she's mixed. Of course, yesterday, I broke it down on how, even though she's mixed, I broke it down how she's still black. I even gave y'all the family tree on both Kamala and Trump. But I want to go to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Salute, Miss James. I see you, Miss James. I'm coming, y'all. Appreciate that super chat, Chen. Appreciate that super chat, Chen. I'm coming, y'all. All right. Now, we did hear her mention in an interview that she wasn't going to be pushing any specific agendas or issues for black people. But now I found when she was on the Breakfast Club, and she actually talks about doing things for black people. All right, let's check it out. And I want y'all to let me know if what she's saying, let me know if it's good, let me know if it's bad, let me know if you would consider it to be ugly. But let's chop it up and let's find out and see exactly what she's saying. Once again, when you hear what she's getting ready to say, let me know, do y'all think it's good, bad, or ugly?
Kamala Harris decided to go on the Breakfast Club, and she was presented the same question Cory Booker was presented. Did she have a black agenda? Now, Kamala Harris has been getting that work from many people on social media, calling her out about her record, calling her out about she refused to say that she's black. Many people don't like what happened with the women with the truancy case. Many videos have been out about Kamala, so they have been scrambling because she is the pick that they want to go against Donald Trump. That's just easy to see based on the companies that gave this woman money already for her campaign. Now, I want you to listen to the same question that she's going to be presented like Cory Booker, but I want you to hear exactly her.
So far, what are y'all thoughts? What are y'all thoughts so far? What she's saying when pertaining to black issues, what are y'all thoughts? Is it good, bad, or ugly? Talk to me.
Now, Kamala easily said, yes, I have a black agenda. And people will be like, what? Kamala said that? Well, just hold on. We got to hold on real quick with that. Because they've been talking to Kamala. And they told her, listen, hey, you better say you got a black agenda. You better say you for reparations or anything else that those black people want. We need them to vote against Trump. Because without them, not only your campaign is going to sink, but we're not going to get any chance anymore for the presidency. Because the Democrats right now know they're not stupid. They know we're not pleased with them. They know that we're calling them out. They hear us all the time talking about a black agenda. They hear us talking about not caping for anyone anymore. They hear all that. Trust me, they're on social media listening right now to what we're saying, okay? But let's go through the few things that Kamala talked about. First thing she said in her black agenda would be HBCUs. That is not the top of the priority list for a black agenda.
What are y'all thoughts? Y'all heard us speak on the historical black college and universities. Ms. Jam says, doctors don't really look into our health concerns. We have to search for a black doctor to get someone to listen. And that's true. Lady V says, she stays in a safety zone on issues about black folks. B. Young says, a lot of black people going to vote Democrat till end of time, no matter what, though. Chris says, Trump 2024. Aunt Esther says, HCBUs is the least of African-American community. All right. So Yvette dropped the good. Yvette, I believe, was the only one that said good. Most of y'all said y'all not buying it. And as the brother stated, they put her up to that. They're telling her, look, you're going to have to go and you're going to have to talk about black agendas. The brother even said that. Let's go back to some more of Kamala.
The Voting Rights Act was only strong for 50.
Let me backtrack, y'all. Let me backtrack.
But she did not at all give a monetary amount or a plan how she gonna disperse reparations. At least Mary.
Drop a 1 if y'all think folks are being too hard on Kamala. Drop a 2 if y'all think that this is what she needs. Drop a 1 if you think folks is being too hard on her. Drop a 2 if you think that this is what she needs. Rain Man dropped the 2. Marie dropped the 1. I will say, when it comes to this, Lady V dropped the 2. Esther says, well, at least she said she's willing to do reparation and needs to be addressed. Positive Vibe says a combination. Sabrina says we can't go backwards. I mean, people are hard on Trump, so it's all fair. Vice versa. People are hard on Kamala, so it's all fair if people become hard on Trump. Michael says, if anyone deserves reparations, it's the Native Americans. The natives are us. I'll get into that later on in this demonstration when I go back to Hidden Colors. Chris dropped a 2. Ms. Jam says she needs the info to figure out her plan. Salute Willie. Willie dropped a 2. Lady V says if we don't apply pressure, we get ignored. Appreciate that, Will. Esther says if she does reparations, she has my vote. She has my vote as well. Once again, we have to understand the whole reparations demonstration. Reparations were owed to the former slaves. I know. Some of y'all are going to say, yeah, Shank, that's true. But the black people in America today, the African Americans in America today wasn't slaves. That's true. But let's go to the court of law and let's look at how a debt, D-E-B-T, let's look at how a debt is paid and owed. When someone, let's say Michael Jackson. Now, Michael Jackson is no longer with us physically, correct? But money is still owed to Michael Jackson. The money goes to his estate. Whoever has the power of attorney, whoever is over his estate receives the money that is owed to Michael Jackson. When a person passes away, the money, the reparations that's owed to them, it's still owed. Who reaps those benefits? The children, the wife, the family. So we can't sit up here and ignore reparations just because the reparations were owed to the former slaves. So the children of those former slaves are the ones that are supposed to receive those reparations. Now, I know every melanated person, every black person in America wasn't descendants of the former slaves. That's why you do the census. Census. That's the whole purpose of the census. We all fill out the census. As a melanated person, if you are descendants of those slaves, then you receive reparations. We will go deeper into exactly what reparations will do for us, also how the reparations should be paid out. My opinion, I don't think that as black people, I don't think that as melanated people that are descendants of those slaves, I don't think that we should receive a monthly check. I don't think that we should receive a yearly check. my opinion, I believe that the reparations should go to the historical black colleges. I think the reparations should go to our education. I think the reparations should go to our health. I think the reparations should go to different institutions that's in our community, and that's how we build. That's my opinion. Everybody, of course, have their own opinions. Lady V says, how can we prove we are descendants of slaves? The census. You know, they send around the census, CENSUS. They send around the census every year for us to fill out. See, me and you may not know who our great parents were unless we trace back. Me and you might not know what tribe we come from. Me and you may not even know our true identity. But guess who knows our bloodline? Guess who knows what tribe we belong to? Guess who knows who our descendants are? The United States of America government. They know. All right, let's move on. Now, I see you, Ms. Parker. Since we have more people in the building, we got 403 people watching with only 21 likes. All I ask for you to do is hit the like button. Help get my likes up. It's nowhere in the world we should be over 400 people watching and we only have 21 likes. Hit the like button. I see you, Joe. I see you, Joe. Salute, Joe. Esther says, in all honesty, we need money in hand in the form of a lump sum or monthly. The colleges have plenty of money. Salute, Brad. Drop a 1. Drop a 1 if y'all feel like Aunt Esther. Drop a 2 if y'all feel like me. And it's okay if you disagree with me. It's okay if you disagree with Aunt Esther. It's fine. That's what we're here for, to hear different perspectives and respect everyone's opinion. So Esther says, in all honesty, we need money in hand in the form of a lump sum. Drop a 1. Drop a 1 if y'all feel like Esther. I feel like the money should go to the institutions in our community. Drop a 2 if you feel like me. Once again, it's okay to disagree with me. That's fine. Okay, let me go to another clip of Kamala, and then we'll move on to Donald Trump, and I'll ask y'all the same questions. What do y'all think? Is this the good, the bad, or the ugly? Because when I look at Kamala, I look at Kamala the same way that I look at Trump. I look at them, they're going to give us something good. They're going to give us something bad. They're going to give us something ugly. No matter, in my opinion, no matter who becomes the president. As sharp as Obama was, as intelligent speaking and all of that other good stuff that Obama brought with his character, I didn't agree with everything that Obama stood for. With Trump, with his tweets, with his, grab her by the pussy, and when they asked him about the coronavirus, I don't know, drink bleach. With all of his heretic, with all of that, I still believe that he did do a good job. What I'm trying to say is, in my opinion, all of them, all of the presidents, they did do some good. You all will have to decide what you feel is the good that they done. But it's nowhere in the world that you could tell me that Obama did everything bad. It's nowhere in the world you could tell me or you could convince me that Trump done everything bad. Even Joe, it's nowhere in the world that you could tell me that Joe Biden done everything bad. Nah, Joe done some good things. Trump done some good things. Obama done some good things. All right. All right. Here's another thing of Kamala, and y'all let me know what y'all think about this. I see you, William. William says Trump has his chance. I voted for him once, but changed my mind about him. I just feel Kamala would be a better president. Drop a 1 Drop a 1 if y'all feel like William. Drop a 2 if y'all disagree. William says Trump has his chance. I voted for him once, but changed my mind about him. I just feel Kamala would be a better president. Drop a 1 if y'all feel the same. Drop a 2 if y'all disagree. Let's go back to Kamala. And y'all let me know what y'all think. The good, the bad, or the ugly.
Of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. My first question is a question that after the pandemic, when I ask, I expect a real answer, okay? You ready?
Okay.
How are you?
Oh, thank you for that. And I know you really mean it. I am well. I am well. I am blessed. You know, there is a lot of good that we can and have done, and I feel energized about continuing to get the work done. So thank you, and my family as well, and that's all I could hope for. So thank you for asking.
Let's talk about some of that work, because you know it's people like me that were motivated to vote for you, and we feel as if you disappeared. If not disappeared, been silenced. Is that the case?
Not at all. I mean, even this week, there were two things that I'm actually more than that I'm extremely proud of, that has been the product of months and months of work. One, something you and I have discussed before, the issue of maternal health. So I brought the issue of maternal health to the front stage of the White House for the first time, talking about what you and I have talked about, that Black women are 3 or 4 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth, Native women twice as likely to die, rural women 60% more likely, and we talked about it in terms of, look, this is an issue that needs to be addressed both in terms of the racial bias in the medical health profession, but also we need to address it in terms of the fact that after a woman gives birth to another human being, it's not right to say she's only going to get 60 days of coverage through Medicaid for what she might need in terms of postpartum treatment, whether it be depression or just exams. So we're saying let's extend it for a year. Dealing with an issue that uniquely affects Black women, fibroids. You know, we don't talk about this stuff publicly, but Black women know that it is a real issue in terms of their health and their life. So we're bringing that to the public stage, and this has been the product of work I've been doing for many years, even before I got to the White House, but bringing it to the stage. Another issue, I just did an event yesterday about lead pipes. Well, look at the issue of lead pipes. What we know is that especially our children who are in public housing and public schools are more likely to be exposed to lead in paint and in pipes. And so we've put through our infrastructure bill a lot of resources into saying, let's clean up those pipes, let's save the health of our children. And why? Because I've met mothers and fathers all over the country, from Michigan to Ohio, all over the country, who talk about the fact that when they turn on that tap, they are afraid that when they fill that glass of water, they may be filling it with poison. And so we're dealing with that because you know why? For our children, half of children under the age of 6, Charlamagne, in America are exposed or are at threat of being exposed to lead. That can stunt their growth. It can have permanent damage in terms of their mental capacity to be educated and literally create brain damage in some cases. What else have we done? Well, I've been working for a long time on saying Black folks need access to capital. Everybody needs access to capital. In particular, when we looked at the pandemic, how many of our small businesses could not survive the pandemic because they did not have the kind of financial support they need. So I just announced what we are doing that is about the $12 billion I got from the Senate, and extending that money to invest in minority-owned businesses, knowing that we have great entrepreneurs in our community who just need access to capital and need to stop being told that they're unbankable, when in fact they are brilliant and are doing great things in the community. So these are some of the things I could go on. I mean, one of the other issues that I care deeply about is what we have got to do in terms of public transit. I've been working on the infrastructure law that we now have. You know, Black folks as commuters, as workers, are 4 times more likely than other workers to go to work on the bus or on the train, on public transit, and we need to improve that. Again, I've been talking with folks around the country. I know personally from having, been a bus rider, that what you see is that in underserved communities, folks are more likely to have to transfer to get to work because there aren't adequate bus lines coming into their community. I know that when you are 5 minutes or even 2 minutes late to catch the bus, in certain communities, you might have to wait a whole hour for the next one to come through, which means you're an hour late for work and may be looking at pay dock or maybe even losing your job. So these are big issues. They take a lot of time. And I'm about saying let's take on the tough issues, but let's do the hard work, which is not just about giving a speech, but it's about actually getting the job done.
Absolutely. You get a lot of criticism. More criticism than any VP I've seen in recent memory. But there's nothing you've done on your worst day as VP that compares to, Mike Pence's worst day as VP. But you seem to get crucified for every little thing in the media. Why do you think that is?
Damn commercials. Give me a minute, y'all, because I'm curious to find this out. What do y'all think so far? What do y'all think so far? Good, bad, or ugly? Let me know. What do y'all think so far of what y'all heard? Good, bad, or ugly?
Well, I appreciate you asking the question, but let me just tell you something. My focus is going to, I can't tell you how many places from Chicago to Charlotte to Detroit where fathers and mothers bring their little girls and little boys up to me and they say, I want to meet Kamala Harris. And then the parent shows me on their phone a picture of their child watching the TV when I was sworn in, right? That's what I focus on in terms of my motivation and my inspiration and verification of the importance of being here and getting this work done. And that's where I focus.
Do you think the criticism comes from you being a black woman, a woman of color?
I think that there is definitely healthy discussion that I will leave others to have about that, but I'm going to be focused on the work and I will not be distracted.
It's okay to say yes. We see it. It's okay. Now, I know you wanted to speak on the Build Back Better plan too, but it seems like once again Senator Joe Manchin is stopping progress on that. Why?
Well, look, Build Back Better is something that the president and I care deeply about. It was our original idea. Even when we were campaigning, it's about saying, look, if first of all, if the cost of living is too expensive for too many people. It has been this way even before the pandemic. And we need to bring the cost of living down. So Build Back Better is saying, let's bring the cost of childcare down. That working families shouldn't have to pay more than 7% of their income in childcare. We're saying prescription drugs are too expensive. We know, you and I know, I have family members who have diabetes. It's too expensive to pay for insulin, and insulin is the only thing that can save a diabetic's life. And so we're saying bring down the cost so that folks wouldn't have to pay more than $35 a month for their insulin. We're talking about elder care. So many folks are raising their young children and taking care of their parents. And it is impossible to take care of their basic needs without having some assistance, and that means bringing the cost down so people can afford to live and satisfy their basic needs and their responsibilities. So we're going to keep pushing, and we're in extensive talks across the aisle with both folks in terms of Republicans and Democrats, but we're not going to give up on it at all.
But where's the pushback on Senator Joe Manchin? Why is he allowed to constantly hold up President Biden's agenda?
I mean, look, here's the thing that is an important fact, which may sound technical, but it really is important.
We got 546 watching with only 39 likes. Y'all hit that like button. Show me some love. We got over 500 people watching and only 39 likes. Hit that like button.
In fact, we have, folks know we have the White House as Democrats, the House and the Senate. In the House, we have, as Democrats, a majority, I believe as of today, it's by 3 votes. Hundreds of people. In the Senate, where there are 100 senators, we are split 50-50 in terms of the Democrats or independents who caucus with the Democrats and the Republicans. And that makes me, as the president of the Senate, the tie vote. every vote matters, especially in the Senate, and we have to listen to the voices who represent their districts. And so that's what we do, and then we negotiate. Some people said we would never get the infrastructure deal done, but we got it done. Some people said we couldn't get the American Rescue Plan done, which was $1,400 checks for folks, where we expanded the child tax credit. A lot of the way we did that was also informed by some previous work I did to say people have to pay, parents have to pay the bills every month, so let's get them the child tax credit in payments every month so that they can get through the month. We got that done. Some people said it couldn't be done, but it takes negotiation, and that's what we have to do. Sometimes it is frustrating. Some people say watching sausage get made, you think that's difficult? Well, watch a bill get made. It's frustrating, and sometimes it's just not pretty.
How do y'all feel? She made a good point. She made a good point. Getting a bill passed, I know it ain't that easy. And I'll ask again. Are we being too hard on our presidents? Are we being too hard on them? Are we expecting from our presidents too much? In a few more minutes, we're going to move on to Donald Trump. And I want y'all to tell me, what do you think? Good, bad, or ugly? Give me a few seconds. We'll move on to Trump. I'm coming, y'all. All right. Y'all let me know what y'all think of this when it comes to Kamala. Y'all let me know in the chat. Was this good, bad, or ugly? On Kamala.
Was the first time you saw Kamala?
Let's backtrack. Y'all let me know. Good, bad, or ugly? Right there, and I want to talk about that. How do y'all feel? How do y'all feel when a black person gets into a position? Okay, now the black person may have or may not come from that same struggle. Is a black person, drop a 1. If a black person, once they get in position, drop a 1 if you feel like they are obligated to not do their job, overlook their job because of the circumstances and say, well, he's black, he was selling drugs, I'm going to give him a break. Drop a 1 if y'all feel a black person should do that. Drop a 2 if y'all feel like a black person, when they get in position, when they get a job, they should do their job. And whether the person is black, white, Mexican, Puerto Rican, green, purple, or yellow, they hold them accountable. Drop a 1 if y'all feel like a black person should let another black person slide. Drop a 2 if y'all feel like that black person should win a settlement. His conviction was overturned. How do y'all feel? Do y'all feel like Kamala was good in this? Do y'all feel like she was bad? Or would y'all say, you know what, Shank Rock? Kamala was downright ugly in the way her office handled this. We're going to go to Trump, and y'all let me know. Now, this is how I feel. And this is me speaking of as a melanated. Ms. Jan says he was fortunate. Not everybody get that opportunity. Bradley says if there was evidence that he did not commit the crime, then he shouldn't have gotten the sentence. I'm like this, and I feel this way. And I'm a melanated person. And I know the system. I know everything that's going on. But it's still my choice. And as a black man, as a black person, we have no more of a right to break the law because of our conditions than a racist cop has when he racially profiles a black person. Y'all get what I'm saying? If one has to be held accountable, the other has to be held accountable. And in this country, those are the most two that seems to want to break the law. Cops, crooked cops, racist cops, they want to break the law and then hide behind their badge. Black people, melanated people, Moorish, whatever you choose to call us, most of us, not all, but most of us, we want to break the law. We want to do what we do, and we want to use the white supremacist system to back up why we commit these crimes. As a cop, you know you're not supposed to racially profile anybody because of their race. So that's what I want to see happen moving forward. I want to see cops take responsibility for their actions, and I want to see black people move past this system that's set up. I want us to stop using it for an excuse why we don't do what we supposed to be doing. Appreciate that super sticker, Nola. We're going to go to Trump, and then I'm going to let y'all get out of here. Y'all let me know about Trump. What are y'all thoughts? Good, bad, or ugly? Let's go to Trump.
Moments ago,
I'm getting a bad connection, y'all. Oh, boy.
here's more of my interview with former President Trump. They're also attacking you for other ridiculous reasons. They're saying that you said to a crowd of Christians that they won't have to vote in the future.
Yeah, let me say what did I mean by that. I had a tremendous crowd speaking to Christians all over. I mean, this was a crowd that liked me a lot. I think I'm at 97% or something. And they're treated very badly by this administration, okay? Catholics are treated unbelievably. They're like persecuted. And if I might say, before I go into the other, Jewish people, if you're Jewish and you vote for Biden or the Democrats or Kamala or whoever's going to run, I guess it's going to be her. But if you voted for her or the Democrats, you should have your head examined because nobody's ever been treated so badly by this. This administration is destroying Israel, et cetera, et cetera. So, with
What do y'all think so far? He says that the Biden administration is destroying Israel. Drop a good, drop a bad, drop a ugly. He's saying that the Biden's administration is destroying Israel. Let me backtrack it. Y'all let me know, good, bad, or ugly.
And I guess it's gonna be her. But if you voted for her or the Democrats, you should have your head examined because nobody's ever been treated so badly by this. This administration is destroying Israel, et cetera, et cetera. So, with respect to like a statement like I made, that statement is very simple. I said, vote for me. You're not gonna have to do it ever again. It's true. Because we have to get the vote out. Christians are not known as a big voting group. They don't vote. And
What do y'all think? He says Christians don't vote. What do y'all think? Good, bad, or ugly? Is there some truths to what he's saying about Christians? He says Christians don't vote.
again, it's true. Because we have to get the vote out. Christians are not known as a big voting group. They don't vote. And I'm explaining that to them. You never vote. This time, vote. I'll straighten out the country. You won't have to vote anymore. I won't need your vote. You can go back to not voting.
What do y'all mean? What do y'all think he mean by that? I know he caught a lot of slack from this comment that he made. If the Christians would vote for him, they wouldn't have to ever worry about voting again. What are y'all thoughts on that?
This time, vote. I'll straighten out the country. You won't have to vote anymore. I won't need your vote. You can go back to not voting.
You don't have to vote for you because you have 4 years in office.
Look.
Is that
Christians are known. You know who else doesn't vote? Gun owners don't vote.
But just to be clear, what you're
Where my gun owners at? Where are my gun owners? He said the gun owners don't vote. Where are my gun owners at?
saying, though, you're not saying it's being interpreted as you are not surprised to hear.
No.
The left as well. They're never going to have another election. He says he's saying there's a can you even just respond to that?
I said Christians. I started off by saying, just so you understand, you never vote. Christians do not vote well. They vote in very small percentages. Why? I don't know. Maybe they're disappointed in things that are happening, but for a long time. I say, you don't vote. I'm saying, go out. You must vote. November 5th is going to be the most important election in the history of our country. Whether you vote early or not, we should have, by the way, one-day voting. We should have voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship. And we should have paper ballots, okay? That's what we should have. But we don't have that. But I said to the Christians in the room, thousands of them, I said, typically Christians do not vote. Why it is, I don't know. You're rebellious. Something's going on. Don't worry about the future.
He says the Christians are rebellion. The Christians are rebellious.
You have to vote on November 5th. After that, you don't have to worry about voting anymore. I don't care, because we're going to fix it. The country will be fixed, and we won't even need your vote anymore, because frankly, we will have such love. If you don't want to vote anymore, that's okay. And I think everybody understood it. I didn't know there was any.
Yeah, well, because it's the constant refrain. I mean, he's after they have done all the things that we've talked about.
Horrible.
All of the things.
Russia, all the things.
And dump their guy of 52 years, just dump him to the side. So they do all that, and then they say, well, no, you can't vote for him because he's literally never going to leave office. They're actually still saying that.
It's just unbelievable.
But you will leave office after 4 years.
That's not what I did last time. I kept hearing, he's not going to leave, he's not going to leave. Look, they are the ones that are a threat to democracy. Number one, they had an incompetent man as president, okay? Now they have somebody who's worse. She's sort of incompetent. She's not very smart, but she's very radical. Very radical. She will try and defund the police. She's going to try and defund.
Is she more of an extremist than most Americans today still understand?
Than Bernie. They say more than Bernie. More than Bernie Sanders.
He endorsed her.
Bernie Sanders is a major lunatic, okay? She's worse than Bernie Sanders.
Is Kamala worse than Bernie Sanders? And is Bernie a lunatic?
Now, she's trying to come back. She got rid of the laugh. I noticed I haven't seen that crazy laugh that she gets. She's crazy. That laugh, that's the laugh of a crazy person. But I noticed.
Is Kamala crazy?
That she's not using that laugh anymore. Somebody convinced her, don't laugh, just don't laugh. Don't laugh under any circumstances because
I like laughter, but sometimes.
not her laughter.
But she claims now she's tough. She's tough on crime. She was a tough prosecutor. Never the borders are.
She was a bad prosecutor. She was a prosecutor of black people. She put thousands of.
This is going to get interesting, y'all. Trump says she was a bad prosecutor. In fact, he says she was a prosecutor of black people. We got to listen to this, y'all. Let's go.
She was a prosecutor of black people. She put thousands and thousands of black people in jail over marijuana. But when it came to big crime, murders and everything else, she was weak. She would look.
Could this be a strategic move that when the debate comes, could Trump zoom in on this? Y'all let me know. In my perspective, he has a valid point. I'm going to let this play out. But in my perspective, he has a valid point. Let's listen, y'all.
To go after Trump, she says, oh, Trump, 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 I did nothing wrong. They did a lot wrong, but I did nothing wrong. This was a totally manufactured deal. This was an attack on a political opponent. And she was involved in that with Biden. And so far it's backfired because people know this was an attack on a political opponent. She was a bad prosecutor in San Francisco. She led the cashless bail and all of the different things. She was the first of all of the bad prosecutors that have allowed. If you look at the 25 top cities, they're basically all Democrat. The prosecutors are weak. She was she destroyed, she's a San Francisco liberal.
They're pushing for debates with you.
Yeah.
It went down in flames for them last time, but they think this is they're going to get you. So you've been kind of a little unclear about whether you're going to debate or not. Will you commit tonight to debating?
So I like debating. I've done a lot of debates. I've won the debates. I think they say I won the election because of that. I don't mind. They were pushing for this early debate. I said, why do we want to do an early debate? It didn't make sense to me. And it turned out I was right, but for the wrong reasons, right? I want to do a debate, but I also can say this. Everybody knows who I am, and now people know who she is. She's a radical left lunatic. She'll destroy our country. She wants open borders.
Then why not debate her?
Well, wait. But because...
That's a good point. Even she said it. Why not debate her? If Kamala is this lunatic, if she's all of the above, why not debate her? I agree. Drop a 1 if y'all feel the same way. If, according to Trump, Kamala is all of the above, why not debate her? Drop a 1 if y'all feel like, hey, go ahead and debate it then. Drop a 2 if you feel different.
People know who she is. She's a radical left lunatic. She'll destroy our country. She wants open borders.
Then why not debate her?
Well, wait. But because they already know everything. She wants to defund our police. She wants no bail. She wants no cash. You kill somebody and we're going to release you immediately. They call it cashless. Cashless. That's it. By the way, this has been a horrible thing for our country. This has been what I just said. But we know where she is. She wants high taxes.
Salute, Tommy. Salute, Tommy. This will be my first time voting as well. Everybody that's this going to be your first time voting, I applaud you all because this is going to be my first time voting as well. So a big shout out to all the first time voters. Let me get some clap hands in the chat for all the first time voters, including myself.
Well, they're going to say you're afraid of debating her. That's what they're going to say.
Well, they said that with Biden, too. I was afraid. I did great with Biden, and I did great in every debate. I've had a lot of debates.
But you're winning on all the issues,
but,
right?
I'm leading in the polls by, I think, a lot. I don't know. I hear different numbers. But I'm leading in all of the polls. I'm leading big in all of the swing states. And I say this. The answer is yes, I'll probably end up debating. I think actually the debate should take place before the votes start being cast. You know, I had a very good second debate with Biden. I really beat him badly. The problem was 30–40% of the votes were already cast. If you're gonna have a debate, you gotta do it, I think, before the votes are cast. I think it's very important that you do that. So the answer is yes, but I can also make a case for not doing it. Also, I don't like rewarding fake news. I don't like rewarding the people that have been, they're gonna make tens of millions of dollars with this debate. I don't like ABC. I think it's a terrible, terrible outfit.
Appreciate that, Bradley. Appreciate that, Bradley. Appreciate that, B. Young. Appreciate the compliments, Bradley and B. Young.
I don't like that ABC is going to get rich, George Slopadopoulos, as I call him. I don't like it's such. I mean, these are such bad people. I don't like that ABC is going to get rich. I don't like, and I will say something that when CNN did the last one, they were very fair. Jake Tapper was very fair.
Well, maybe just you and Vice President Harris in a room together with no moderators.
I don't mind that. I don't mind anything. Look, I don't mind. We can do any form of a debate. You know, when they asked me to do the debate, they didn't think I was going to do it because they were going to offer. They offered me the two heads, the two announcers, whatever you call them, the referees, call them whatever you want. But I have to say, they were both very fair. It was CNN. They wanted to sit down. I said, no, I don't want to sit down. You can't sit down. They want to sit down. And they offered me everything that I couldn't accept, and I accepted it. I accepted everything. And we had a debate. It was a great debate. It was actually, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have debated so well because of it. You know, that was the end of him. Because from that day on, you could see that he was not going to be, in my opinion, I said, I don't think he's going to make it anymore. Now I have her. I would rather run against her than him. I think she's easier than he is. Because he had a certain, I always felt he was.
Scranton Joe.
I always felt he was incompetent, but he had a certain base. And no matter how bad he was, people were going to vote for him. She doesn't have that base.
All right. What do y'all think? The good, the bad, or the ugly? Here's my shirt. I won't deny it. I'm a straight rider. You got Donald Trump. Me and Miss Parker, we both attended a Trump rally. So for those that don't know, let me just catch y'all up to speed. This is my first time voting. This is going to be my first time voting. The reason why I'm going to exercise my right to vote is for one reason and one reason only. Because there were people, my forefathers and foremothers, my ancestors, whites, Mexicans, other nationalities during the civil rights movement, those people risked their freedom, those people risked their lives for us to have the right to vote. That's the only reason why I'm going to vote, because I feel bad. I feel bad. So on my journey of my first time voting, I've done my homework, and most people said, Shank, it doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican. What matters is whoever it is that you're going to vote for, make sure that they meet your needs. I was also told that the presidential elections is not as important as your local elections. How many of y'all agree with that? Do y'all agree that the local elections are more important than the actual presidential election? So, where I'm at now, I'm definitely going to vote for Trump. That's why I have on the shirt. I'm going to vote for Trump because I felt like Trump makes the better president between him and Biden. This was my purpose for voting for Trump. And I still feel like Trump makes the better president when it comes to him and Biden. Well, there's been a change in things. Kamala is running against Trump. Right now, I'm still going to vote for Trump over Kamala. However, and I want everybody to pay attention. However, what's going to determine whether or not I'm going to continue to vote for Trump or if I'm going to vote for Kamala, I want to see a presidential debate between Trump and Kamala. That's what's going to determine my final decision. I want to see a debate. I want to see it. I think that they both can hold their own. I don't think in a debate, I don't think Trump is going to be weak. I don't think in a debate, Kamala is going to be weak. I said it before, I'll say it again. I think a debate between Kamala and Trump will be the equivalent of locking a lion and a tiger in the cage together. You just don't know who's going to come out victorious. You know, you just don't know. The tiger, of course, is bigger. The tiger, of course, is stronger. But one thing about a lion pretty much fights to the end. So that's where I'm at on this. I want to see the debate. We seen Trump and Hillary. We seen other presidential debates. So why can't we see a presidential debate between Trump and Kamala? If Trump is scared, I'm voting for Kamala. If Kamala is scared, I'm voting for Trump. That's my opinion. That's my perspective on things. Now, in my opinion, regardless who becomes president, I mean, I'm not expecting so much from them. I'm not expecting for Trump to call me up and say, hey, Shank, I'm having a get together at the White House. Why don't you come on and bring your family? I'm not expecting that from Trump. I'm not expecting Kamala to say, hey, Shank, I've been checking out your demonstrations and I really like what you got going on. How about bringing me on your platform to discuss some things? I doubt that. So I'm not expecting for neither one of them to change the world's issues. And I think if we feel that way, then I think that we're going into this with blindfolders on. If you expect the president to change your conditions, you got to change your conditions on your own. The president has to run a country. So that's how I feel. Let me jump to the chat, then we're going to get back. And I'm also going to go back. B. Young says, real talk. Megan says, I'm voting for Trump because he has not gotten wealthy playing politics. He's self-made. He values American families and believes in God and Jesus. He is our only hope. Positive Vibes says, if they promise you hair growth, Positive Vibes wouldn't be Positive Vibes if she didn't roast me. Bradley says, Kamala isn't ready to debate Trump. I don't know, Bradley. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, I feel like Trump got some things on Kamala. I feel like Kamala got some things on Trump. It's definitely going to be an interesting debate. Renee says, don't forget voting for Congress is important too. Yes, that's another thing that I was told. Congress, who we vote in and out of Congress, is very important. Appreciate that, Renee. William says his money came from his father. That's true, William. Remember, we went over that on yesterday's. Jess says, self-made by a person who got a handout from his daddy. Bradley says, IGT, God bless you all. I'll come back, see you again, Shank. Appreciate you, Bradley. Appreciate you, Bradley. Joe says, it ain't happening. Look at our infrastructure. We are completely done. Have you seen California, New York, and Pennsylvania Philly don't even look like the city I spent my teenage years in. Thamius says, you sound like a fool who has no definition. You entitled to your opinion, Thamius. B. Young says, how many people... Ain't. My bad, y'all. Renee says, Kamala says she's ready. Trump sounds like he's making excuses. Is Kamala Indian or black? Which one? I basically went over that demonstration yesterday as far as Kamala being mixed, Kamala being Indian, Kamala being black. So, Kamala's father is from Jamaica. Her mother is from India, okay? Now, we know that according to the Western civilization, because if you travel throughout the world, they don't even use race. They don't even call or consider a person black. They don't consider a person white. They don't consider a person brown and yellow. They don't use those terminologies. They don't use the color when it comes to race. Appreciate that super sticker, William. Appreciate that super sticker, William. They go by the land. They go by the country that you're from. Now, if we're dealing with the way how America view things, if we're looking at it from America's perspective, okay, let's look at it as color. America looks at it as color. In America, they say if you have one pinch, one drop of Negro blood, one drop of black blood, you are black. You are a Negro. Kamala's father is Jamaica. Her mother is India. The Jamaicans, they black. Contrary to what has been taught to us, India, and I showed this yesterday, and I'm going to go back to Hidden Colors, but India at one time was occupied by black people, melanated people. All of the continents, all of this whole planet Earth at one time was occupied by melanated people, by black people. But what happened over the centuries and over the years when the Europeans, when the Caucasians made their way out of the Caucasus Mountains, they started raping the melanated women. And they started mixing they seed with the melanated women, with the black women. And that's how you have these different complexions of people. I know a lot of people say, nah, Shank, it happened during the Ice Age. Nah, Shank, it happened when the people went further north. It happened when the people went here. No, that's not true. That's not true. But that's another demonstration, and I don't want to get away from this demonstration. But to answer your question, Kamala is black. She's black.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need.
All right, let's go back to Trump. India, the people that's in India are black. I mean, I'm not going to keep debating with y'all. If y'all consider her to be Indian, fine. I'm not going to keep debating y'all whether or not she's black. Her father is Jamaica. Her father is Jamaican.
President is set to join a question and answer panel with political journalists attending the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago tomorrow. He will also hold a rally in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania that same day before heading to the Hamptons on Friday for a fundraiser. So CBS News campaign reporter Olivia Rinaldi is following all of this and is joining us now. So Olivia, Trump's campaign, we've been spending weeks talking about how the Trump campaign has been making inroads within the black community, but that was when President Biden was running. Now that it's VP Harris at the top of the ticket, they've lost a lot of ground. He's going to be going to the NABJ convention. You're going to have, journalists from all across the country there. What can we expect from his appearance?
Anne-Marie, part of the goal here is that outreach to the Black community. As you mentioned, he will be going to Chicago tomorrow before heading to Harrisburg for a rally later that evening. And he'll be on a panel with some pretty prominent journalists from Fox, ABC, and Semaphore. And he'll be talking about issues that are plaguing the Black community. This is part of his outreach there, and organizers of the NABJ have had to explain exactly why they invited him. They said this is part of tradition that they always invite presidential candidates during an election cycle.
So, choice for president, Black voters. 67% is voting for Harris, 12% is voting for Trump. Now, this is the Black voters. 67% is voting for Harris, 12% is voting for Trump. And for all y'all that feel like, well, race don't have nothing to do with it, then why is this such an issue? Why do they come for the Black vote? Why is the Black vote even mentioned if race has nothing to do with it?
But as we've mentioned, this is part of his goal. He's trying to go to places where people don't normally go, Republicans don't normally go. So earlier this year, he held a rally in Philadelphia, in North Philadelphia that I went to. He's trying to kind of cut those corners, but as you mentioned, this is before Vice President Harris was on the ticket, and I suspect this is even more of a consequential meeting now for him to go to some of these places and reach out to these voters.
Interesting. So Donald Trump was on Fox News last night, where he questioned the value of debating Vice President Kamala Harris. Here's what he said.
The answer is yes, I'll probably end up debating. I think actually the debate should take place before the votes start being cast. So the answer is yes, but I can also make a case for not doing it.
All right, Olivia, he had already committed to this debate when President Biden was going to be the person he was debating. And then he started to complain about ABC being the host for the debate and maybe it should be somewhere else on Fox News. He seems like he's trying to figure out a way to get out of it, but what would be the reasons why he would not debate Kamala Harris?
Well, here you see him there leaving the door just slightly open, just ever so open that, you heard him say, I could do it, but I could also not do it. And part of the reason is that he feels he didn't agree to an interview with Vice President Kamala Harris. But what was also notable in that interview last night with Fox was where he said that debating Biden was something that he questioned about doing so early. And that was the first time I've heard him say something like that. Because for several rallies leading up to Biden agreeing to the debate, Trump would do a gimmick where they brought out a debate podium and said anytime, anywhere, any place. Biden agreed to it, and then we all know what happened. It ultimately led to Biden dropping out of the race. So the point there being, though, the Trump campaign always wanted to face off against Biden in November. Their entire campaign was about that and centered on attacks around Biden. Now that he's out of the race, they're having to reframe those attacks against Vice President Harris.
And the reason why, and I said it, and I'll say it again, Kamala is going to give Trump a run for his money. I'm just keeping it honest. One thing about a woman, and I'll say it loud and bold, when a woman is on her A game, ain't too much you can do with her. Keeping it 100. If it's a woman and she's on her A game, I'm not talking about the ratchet women. I'm not talking about the dumb blondes. I'm not talking about the black women that you see on social media twerking. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about a woman that knows her ish. Ain't gonna be too much that you could do with her. Especially a black woman. But women, period. A white woman. If you get a white woman that's on her A game, ain't gonna mean too much that you could do with her. And that's where we're at now. Trump, they have to reconstruct. They have to rethink this because Biden, it was a walk in the park. It was like taking candy from a baby debating Biden. Right? But Kamala, nah. Completely different scenario. Completely different demonstration. Nonetheless, we're going to move on. But how do y'all feel when it comes to Trump not really seeming like he wants to debate Kamala? Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think it's bad? What are y'all thoughts? I'm almost finished. I'm not going to hold y'all that much longer. We got 400 watching, 86 likes. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Oh, boy. All right. I'm coming, y'all. All right. Let's go back to hitting colors.
Really bring the clock as we know it today to its highest form. The clock that we use is a watch, okay? Now, a lot of folk not gonna admit this, but what is that big clock called in London? It's called Big Ben. It's named after Benjamin Banneker. But nobody wants to admit this.
During slavery, there was something called the Seminole Wars. There were many slave rebellions in this country that a lot of people don't talk about. In the 1800s, there were really a lot of slave rebellions, and people were very nervous about what was going on, what had gone on in Haiti, because Haiti had made themselves independent by having a big slave uprising. There was the Nat Turner Rebellion in the early 1800s. People were still shook about that. You had the Denmark Vesey. He was going to have a slave rebellion in South Carolina. That got foiled, but they had up to 9,000 people ready to put in work. So a lot of people were very nervous about slave rebellions in this country. The Seminole War, it was a war of Native American and black people mixed together, calling themselves Seminoles, because there's no such thing as a Seminole Indian. A Seminole Indian, it's a made-up term. A Seminole basically means runaway, by definition. A lot of black people were fighting for their freedom. The image of black people just sitting around waiting on people to free them, That's an image to keep us submissive.
It was also not economically feasible because of the rebellions that were going on. See, we're not talking about just slavery. We think there was slavery and there was a couple of rebellions like Nat Turner, who, by the way, my wife is descendant of Nat Turner. And they were thinking that it was just Nat Turner. They were burning and destroying, and there was true guerrilla warfare going on.
Ending slavery was not the reason a civil war was fought at all. The Civil War was fought to bring the South back into unison with the North and to destroy the economic advantage that the South had due to slavery. They cared nothing about the lives of black people. They cared nothing about the way that we were treated. They cared nothing about African life. It was not about protecting us because they had somehow waken up.
Did y'all hear that? The Civil War had nothing to do with freeing the slaves. The Civil War had everything about bringing the South back under the fold.
And realized that we were human beings too. No, the South was growing too powerful.
Capitalism started to rise. But what began to happen is that in capitalism rising, it began to stifle capitalism because capitalism demands as an economic system that people are always trying to rise to the higher. They're competing. Competition fuels capitalism. But if you could buy an African for $300 and then pay somebody for 20 years $300 a year, which would you do? You buy someone one time for $300. But that's going to stifle capitalism because what's going to happen is there's going to be no competition because what European is going to compete for a job that they could buy an African to do? So the North said, look, enslavement of African people is stifling capitalism. And so the South said, so what you want me to do? They said, well, you got to free your Africans. They free my Africans, well, how am I going to get my money? The North said, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. We don't trust you. No, we're not going to sell our we are not going to stop enslaving Africans. We're just not going to do it. The North said, we have to because it's going to stifle capitalism and we're going to choke with overproduction without an ability to sell what we're South said, that's not my problem because I can sell my raw materials any place in the world. The North said, but then what would happen to us? We have factories. The South said, well, that sounds like a personal problem to me. I don't care what happens to you. North said, but you can't do that. The South said, we're going to do that. We're not freeing Africans. They said, you got to free Africa. We're not free. In fact, the South said to the North, I'm tired of talking to you. I'm going to secede. I'm not even going to talk to you no more. In fact, I'm not even part of what your colonies are anymore. North said, you can't do that. South said, watch. That started the Civil War.
Well, one of the big things that occurred right at the end of the Civil War was that Europeans began to form unions. In fact, the workers' union is an outgrowth of slavery and the Civil War. When it looked like the cause was lost for the Confederacy, white men began to organize themselves into labor forces. Why did they do this? Because you are about to see 2 million enslaved Africans set free who have skills that equal or supersede your own, who would now be able to compete and buy with you for contracts and livelihood. That was a significant area of concern for white men. Okay, so if I was a European who was looking for work, couldn't find any because they'd already been hired up to the slaves of a certain master. So when the Civil War came about and when slavery was about to end, that intensified. Because now slaves will be aggressively looking for work because when slavery ended, they had nothing to which they could claim their own to make a living. So that bothered Europeans and they set up agreements, okay, with those who had industries and those who had stores that you could only hire someone who was white who belonged to a particular labor's union. In fact, some of the first unions were started right here in Pennsylvania. And a lot of black people fail to realize the origin of the union. The union is nothing but a collective force of white people who are protecting jobs for themselves and keeping them away from black people.
The fight came that after slavery ended, we had jobs, which is what you mentioned earlier, that we were starting to get it together because we had skills. It was the white man that didn't have any skills because we're the ones who had been forced to work. The black man had. And so part of that destruction during all that Jim Crow and everything was fighting against the brothers who were trying to be in business and who were trying to work. And that...
Are y'all listening? Are y'all listening? We all know the story of Black Wall Street. But did y'all know that Black Wall Street was all over America? It just wasn't a Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You had Black Wall Street in Indianapolis. You had Black Wall Street in Atlanta. You had Black Wall Street all over. It just wasn't in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Fight between the black man and the white man about the construction business has continued down to today, which is why you could go into a city like Cincinnati and in Philadelphia, where the black population is over 50 or 60%, and the white contractors own 99% of all of the jobs in the city, and that's nationwide. And they've kept us out of it. They've kept us out of the unions. This is what there was, but it was the black man who used to have all of the skills for building. We were the contractors, our people.
Abraham Lincoln himself said, if I could keep Africans enslaved and preserve the Union, I would do that. Abraham Lincoln didn't want to free African people. He had to because of capitalism, because he saw what was happening. But look at the mean trick. Let's continue the story.
Ms. James says we had Central Park till they pushed us out.
Now you have Africans that are free, who are part and parcel of America, who deserve not just a break, but they need a little bit more because they deserve, because they built America and made America what it was. So,
and this is all facts. This is all facts. Donald Trump even co-signed what you all are hearing. Donald Trump has even stated that, yes, the black Americans have built this country. Any Trump supporter, even if you ain't a Trump supporter, anybody that listens to Trump, you know you heard Trump say, and this is why Trump is so much for the black people. I know, but you really got to listen to Trump. Trump is giving it up, but because some people don't like Trump, they miss the message that Trump is bringing. But the next time you get a chance, listen to Trump, especially when he visits a black church. Trump says it all the time. Black Americans built this country. So you know what you're hearing now in Hidden Colors from these scholars. You know they ain't lying. If your boy Trump has already said that black Americans built this country.
between 1865 and 1877, we have what's called the Reconstruction period, where black folk were going out, going to school, graduating, becoming doctors, lawyers. They were speaking Greek, Latin, better than people who taught Greek and Latin. They were going in, becoming senators, they were becoming congresspeople, they were becoming part of the world arena. Europeans got scared. So what did they do? They started an organization that would attack black folk. It was called the Tea Party. No, not the Tea Party. It was called the Ku Klux Klan. I'm sorry. I'm jumping up in history here. They're going to start to pass laws where segregation is going to exist, because they don't want Africans to be able to take the jobs that are going to be fueled by capitalism. So what do? They said, bring me your weak, your poor, your homeless. Bring me your sick, your ignorant. And that's when the immigration came. And that's who got the jobs that were supposed to go to black folk.
A lot of people don't know the original design for the Statue of Liberty was a black female. As a matter of fact, in a museum in New York, you can see the original design of...
How many of y'all knew that the original Statue of Liberty was of a black woman? How many of y'all knew that? Drop a 1 if you knew that.
A lot of people don't know the original design for the Statue of Liberty was a black female. As a matter of fact, in a museum in New York, you can see the original design of the Statue of Liberty, which is a black woman.
When the French artists created the Statue of Liberty, it was supposed to represent the end of slavery. On the original model, there were chains on the hands and feet, as we know. When the statue got to America, they wanted to erase any references to slavery from the statue, but the artists really fought to keep the chains on there because this is your art. You don't want people tampering with your art. And if you look, the chain is still on the foot of the Statue of Liberty to this day.
Well, the story was that it was a gift of the French to the slaves, and that the original statue had the picture of a black woman, the original model for it, and it had a distinctly African face. But it was Europeanized because the people in the United States did not want to have a black face sitting up there in the harbor, so they carved it out. In France, they had to go back to the drawing board and remodel the face after the what they call the patron saint of Manifest Destiny. So the patron saint of Manifest Destiny, that's her face on the what do you call it, Statue of Liberty, which was transposed from the African face. In fact, you see the patron saint of Manifest Destiny in the symbol for Columbia Pictures in the beginning of the movies. That's the patron saint of Manifest Destiny. Post-slavery Africans were consolidated. They were more together than ever. Segregation gave them the necessity, or created the necessity for them to maintain a type of cohesion with each other, no matter if it was infighting. They still had their self-interest and the collective interest. So we didn't know who the enemy was back then. Today, after integration, we don't know who the enemy is anymore.
What are y'all thoughts? What are y'all thoughts? That's history lesson 101. See, these are, and this is the information that is not taught in public schools. This information is been in existence. And this is why I call this demonstration shocking news, because many of y'all, after watching this, many of y'all are shocked. Yes, Miss James, very informative. I like Tariq, and that's why I said, y'all do your homework. There are five editions. There are, it's Hidden Colors 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Google it. Some of it you could get on YouTube, but Hidden Colors is a must. And when you watch it, keep an open mind. That's why, and just listen now, that's why it's very important to just listen to Trump. Now, whether Trump is just using it to get black votes, we'll figure that out down the line. But Trump knows something. Trump knows something. You mean to tell me in the assassination attempt on Trump's life, we could just go back to that. They knew before Trump even hit the stage, law enforcement, the Secret Services, they seen my man. They seen him up there. They seen him 11 minutes. He was playing with the drone for 11 minutes. Come on. It's deeper. It's bigger than what they want us to believe. Like I said, and that's why I wanted to call this demonstration the good, the bad, and the ugly. And notice, I just didn't do it about Trump. I just didn't do it about Kamala. I did it about both of them. The good, the bad, and the ugly about both of them. But it's up to you and me. And this doesn't make a difference what nationality you are. It doesn't make a difference if you're Republican or Democratic. It doesn't make a difference what your sexual gender is. None of that matters. It doesn't make a difference what your religion is. But you and I, we have to do our own homework. And we have to keep an open mind. And just because we hear something that we've never heard before, that don't mean that that's not true. Just because I may be of this religion and someone from another religion comes to teach me something, that don't mean that they are wrong. See, as American people, that's why we're so far behind, because we get caught up in the pettiness. He's from up north. I'm from down south. I don't like him. He likes the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like the Dallas Cowboys. I don't want to hear nothing he got to say. I'm Republican. He's Democrat. Screw those Democrats. You get where I'm coming from? I'm Christian. He's Muslim. They're the Antichrist. We got to stop pushing away messages that is brought to us. I'm going to leave y'all with this, and then we're going to get out of here. All right? Jesus. And Jesus, and I'm going to use Jesus because the majority of the world knows a little bit about Jesus. Ms. Jan says, you didn't lie on that, LOL. This is so true. When it comes down to it, it's going to be human versus, and that's it. At the end of this, it's going to be black, white, immigrants. It's going to be a melting pot. And you're going to see different nationalities, different race of people. You're going to see them on this side. But you're going to see the same people on that side. You're going to see white against black. You're going to see black against black. You're going to see immigrants against immigrants because it boils down to good versus evil, right? But God sent his only begotten son into the world, Jesus Christ. Now, Jesus went to his own, and his own received him not. Jesus was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel, but his own received him not, because his own was so used to thinking this way. Sounds like you, and sounds like you. Definitely sounds like you. You're used to thinking a certain way because you was programmed. You was taught to believe Republicans are full of ish. You were programmed to believe Democrats can't do nothing for me. You was taught that. We was taught white over here. We was taught black over there. But the one thing that I know for a fact, correct, Crazy Alice, we've all been deceived. One thing that I know for a fact, go back to 2001, September the 11th, when those buildings got hit in New York. I promise you, there were Democrats, Republicans, Muslims, Christians, Jews, white, black, immigrants, men, women. I promise you. When 9/11 happened, all of that went out the window. They wasn't concerned about what religion this one was. They wasn't concerned about what race she was or what he was. The natural instinct of a human being kicked in. And what's the natural instinct? To protect, to serve and protect. It's in all of us. It's in all of us. If you see your fellow man, if you see your fellow woman in trouble, it's in you to help. Why do we have to wait for these tragedies to happen for that to click in? Why it can't be an everyday thought to help my neighbor? Jesus said, love thy neighbor. Did he or did he not say, love thy neighbor? I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask him, and I'm going to ask her. Are you showing love to your neighbor? Do you want for your brother? Do you want for your sister what you want for yourself? We could nip it in the bud if we would just learn to practice what God gave us. He gave it to all of us. As a child, when you come into this world, everything that you need, God already gave it to you. But somewhere, and I don't know where for different people, but somewhere down the line, some of us went astray. And I'm going to leave y'all with this, and then I'm going to salute y'all. If you are a miserable person, and you know whether or not you're miserable. If you have that much hate in you for your fellow man or your fellow woman, do us all a favor. Go in a corner, go in a closet, and sit in the closet in the dark for a day and get your thoughts together. Go in the closet for a day and get your heart together. Because what we was created for, we was created to love one another. And it is what it is. And until we get that through our thick skull, no matter who becomes president, we as a nation, we ain't going nowhere. Salute everybody. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all hit the like button. I appreciate all my new subscribers. I'll see y'all on the next demonstration at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you would like to support the channel, my Cash App is $ERICMCINT, or you could purchase a membership to the channel. Some of my demonstrations are for members only, or you could get a super sticker or a super chat. Salute everybody. I'll see y'all on the next demonstration at 5 p.m. Eastern.